I'm kidding. I still
All right.
remember stuff.
I'm going to call the Plan Commission meeting to order. Everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes?
Yeah.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Let's see here. Public hearing on conditional use.
We have another meeting minutes item.
Oh, got it. I'm sorry. I apologize. All right. The motion, I take it, was for the first one, September 7th minutes? Is that good? All right. So September 26th minutes.
I will move to approve. Second.
Motion second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. All right. Public hearing on conditional use permit application for Crumble Cookie at 1020 Pearson Drive. This is a public hearing, gives anybody an opportunity to speak on this issue. If you have something to say, please identify yourself, come to the podium, identify yourself, and try to keep it brief if possible and try not to repeat one another. I think that's it. So is there anybody that has a comment on this? Any comment? Any comment? Any comment?
Any on,
No one on Zoom.
I will move to close the public hearing at this point. Second.
Motion second to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Public hearing is closed. Discussion and possible action on a conditional use permit application for Crumble Cookies at 1020 Pearson Drive.
So Crumble Cookies looking to operate a drive-through at the strip mall where Sapporo Japanese restaurant is located. There is an existing drive lane on the building's east side, which would be converted into the drive-through lane. Meanwhile, the secondary lane would remain as a bypass lane and also would allow people to utilize the parking lot that's adjacent to this. Crumble's business operation plan, as noted in the staff report, does include employing approximately 80 employees in total, with about 10 to 12 employees anticipated per shift. With all this stuff in mind, staff does recommend approval with the listed conditions in the packet.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Got a motion second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved.
With city conditions.
Yep.
Discussion and possible action on concept development plans for a building expansion at 1313 Coulee Road, Mike's Standard.
All right, so Mr. Alwyn, the property owner, is looking to improve his existing repair garage and convenience store with an automatic single automobile car wash and an eat-in drive-through coffee and sandwich shop. The concept plans include some lighting, signage, landscaping, architectural renderings, an overall site plan, analysis of car wash sound levels, and traffic counts along Ward Avenue. In addition to the development plans, a CUP application is required. The public hearing is set to take place approximately November 15th for that in front of the Plan Commission. And in line with that as well, a neighborhood meeting was held on July 19th at the location of 1313 Coulee Road, where the project was discussed with neighborhood residents, although only one showed up. There were also a couple others that provided handwritten letters as well to Mr. Putman, who is actually here today and would like to present a brief project summary to all of you. I believe he's got some posters to present as well. So, Mr. Putman, take it away.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's been a while since I've been before this group. I spent some time before you folks a while ago. I will be as brief as possible. We were, I must have paid an awful lot of money to Dave Alwyn fixing cars over the years, and he came to me one day and said, I'm going to buy my mentor's car repair facility and gas station, Mike's Standard. And I want to call it Mike's Standard, because that's what we will try to follow. And he said, I want you to do your best for us to make that 1958 facility and almost institution to last another 64 years. And so in the process of maybe the last 5 months, doing an awful lot of studies and so forth, we put together what you have seen in your package, and I have frankly enough boards to put you all to sleep, and that's not my intention at all, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. Basically, it's a phased project that includes, one moment. I need some help to put this back up again. Just kidding, just kidding. 14th Street, Coulee Road, and this building. 2 garages, he repairs cars. This is where he stores his barbecue. And with a 7-foot high door, by the way. Needs to be taller. He has enough business to motivate 2 more garages. So that's a modification to this garage. This is phase 1. His garage, his car wash used to operate. It's a tunnel. I used it a long time ago. Some other people did too. Anyway, 1958 bathrooms in a Standard Oil station don't exactly meet Americans for Disability Act criteria. It's the best you could do in 1958.
Boy, they're cool. Those panels, they are cool.
Well, one of them is really cool, but we're not supposed to talk about that. Anyway, so the idea is to do this in phases, to fix the garage, to add a garage, and to remobilize the car wash. And to do that, if this end is closed off, a little bit bigger. If this, and this is the car wash right now, blue walls exist. If this is closed off and these become bathrooms and storage, and this car wash takes a turn, and some could say that's not the most common approach, but this is a 23-foot-long crew cab pickup, monster truck. I did a project called Liberty on the Lake in Stillwater, and Quick Trip put its first non-standard building there with a car wash. The car wash has the door closed until it's the dryer cycle is completely done. We have done extensive sound testing. The ambient sound level on all the car washes in town is at least 30% higher. The car wash sound is 30% higher. The one in Liberty, which we have patterned this one after, is 10% lower than the ambient sound level. That's the truth. I held the meters. Anyway, so that's the idea of remobilizing this car wash, getting enough room to do what I said, to be able to do all the car wash inside the doors. Don't have to have the doors open. That's this, and that makes room for the bathrooms. And this is his office, Mike's office, becoming his manager's office. And eventually, so here's phase 1 with this. This is probably phase 1, but maybe 2. Convenience store, there's not very many square feet. It's just some more products. And at some point, assuming we work out the flows and how to control the traffic, this is a small coffee shop with a drive-through. And this was a pretty heavily researched bit of information with regard to the average trips through the car wash at the peak time of the year and not, and what the flows are through this car wash, through the coffee shop. Yes, sir.
Where's the entrance to the car wash going to be?
The entrance
If you're
is-
adding on 2 more stalls and closing in that third one, aren't you kind of sucking up the whole lot then?
Looks like Ward Street.
There's still enough
There's
room?
plenty of room.
Okay.
Really, and in fact, if you look in, again, you have to probably bring your sleeping bag, but if you look in the booklet, the multiple page 11 by 17 book, you will see the turn radii researched for composite vehicles.
Okay.
That includes the biggest one.
I just wanted to make sure there
Yes,
was
sir.
enough room. Why I asked.
Yes, sir. We painted spots out there. We turned trucks around. We tested it pretty heavily.
Thank you.
We've spent, honestly, months trying to get this right and do the best. And honestly, we have tried to do our best. Not walking on water, we're just trying to do the best job possible. Anyway, the 3D view or an aerial view of this, here's the existing, the cover over the gas pumps is not up in the air. This is kind of a modified aerial plus a 3D model. But here's the idea on this end. Here's the existing building. Here's in the fourth last phase would be the coffee shop. Again, assuming we can get all the staff comfortable with what we planned. And at the other end, here's that coffee shop. But here's enough room to make that turn. And we did extend the existing space some to, again, accommodate the vehicles, keep the door closed, and have room for real live bathrooms. So anyway, that's the 3D stuff. I have way more boards. I can answer any questions. Be happy to.
Anybody?
So can I just ask, the turn into the car wash? You have the turn into the car wash, then you have arrows going to the exit.
Can I come up and look at what
Yeah. So the car wash is here, right? They're gonna turn in?
The existing car wash, see these two blue
Yeah.
struts? That's where the existing car wash is.
Right.
We'd extend it that much.
Right,
This is an existing garage, add another garage.
right.
And here's, if you go out there, you can see paint spots on the ground and see, or paving, and see how this route works.
Yep, that's not what my concern is. I see how that route works. I'm saying when you have arrows going this way for people who want to exit and not go into the car wash?
Do you use the car wash downtown at what used to be Freedom?
Yeah, but I'm just asking,
No,
like,
that's what it's for, because you either have to back out of that one or go through it. And this was a way out if you changed your mind or you forgot your credit card or something like that.
okay,
That's all
so
it
it's
is.
not meant for other cars to pass around?
No.
Okay,
No,
that's what I was
no,
questioning.
quite the opposite.
Got it.
That is not an exit, except for car wash users,
Got it.
okay?
Mark, maybe I missed it, but what are your phases and as far as the timeline? Yearly, monthly, what's the plan going forward?
Well, Dave Alwyn wanted to be laying up concrete block on this first phase now, but we took a little bit longer to get the job done because of the complexity and because we wanted to do added testing for sound levels and for trips. I asked Tiffany if she had information on trips per day on Ward Avenue. Nuh-uh. She had all kinds of information on Coulee Road, but so we took our own counts over a couple-week period of time, and that is in your booklets as well. But anyway, so this is as soon as we can get approved and get the final drawings blessed, and then he's got a couple contractors looking at it, but we couldn't go forward until we knew for sure we could do this. So it's probably a spring start, and that's this, and then on the heels of that is this, and so this is a year out, and this is 2 or 3 years out. How's your crystal ball with regard to the economy? If it's good, good. If we have a rerun of 2008, 9, 10, 11, hard to say.
It's a big concern, yeah.
I mean, I think it's neat, so I like it.
If you have cars parked on the north side of Ward Avenue, you're coming out of the car wash, is there enough space for a vehicle to turn west on Ward Avenue? Or
Yeah. Let me get the other board up. I had it once. Are you able to see this okay?
I'm looking at that right now.
This, the office building next door
Right.
has 4 or 5 parallel parking spaces, and the last one comes right there, right to their to their, I'm sorry, right to their driveway's right here. And this has more space on either side than they do. And there's a much discussion to be had with city planner, city community development director, city engineer, and so forth, with regard to whether this comes straight out, but this may sound crazy to use the standard, but UPS plots or plans all their routes to take right turns because they're the safest. And this plan uses that approach to try to cause people to take right turns. Right turn in, right turn in, right turn out, up here, right turn in, gentle right turn, when the left turn is inside the building, and a right turn and you're back out again. So I'm not sure I directly answered your question, but the background is we provide parking spaces sized.
No, the concern was, is if a car coming out of the car wash decides they want to make a left turn onto Ward Avenue, is there enough space to accommodate a left turn if there are cars parked on the north side of Ward Avenue?
Oh, yeah, that's a wide road, very wide. In fact, I studied it, and I didn't bring those boards along, but there is enough room to make the left turn.
Okay.
And by the way, the engineer report is recommending that this be a straight-out exit to enable that. And frankly, I think this is safer and better and kind of oblique with regard to headlights spanning across people's houses on the other side. So, anyway, there's other comments in the report, in the response, and I apologize for not getting it to you folks sooner, but we just got it yesterday. We did best to quit.
Ward Avenue does not have the traffic as of now, though. That would be the same as the Holiday downtown. If you're trying to turn either which way, you can turn either way, but unless you turn right or go with traffic, you know, your exit's pretty easy. If you decide to go left and cross that lane to get to the other side, the exit is not easy, because then you have to wait for a slot for both sides to open up to get out. And, you know, obviously some of that would have to occur here, except there's no traffic as of now.
Yeah, the counts by the way, this is on page 12F of your booklets. There's an average of one vehicle per 20 minutes on eastbound Ward Avenue.
Nothing.
And, 6 per hour, one per 20 minutes. It's not busy. We were really heartened, frankly, to see the people walking and biking, but there weren't very many of them either.
Right.
Which, by the way, has motivated me to try there's 3 different designs for attempting to respond to the 2040 comprehensive plan, recommending or saying, let's pursue ways of making pedestrians more invited and safer. And so we drew those stripes on the paving. I think, well, I didn't respond to that because I didn't quite have time, but we'll go through that with the staff as well. And please, I would welcome any urging to that account as well, because I'm into traffic calming design whenever I can.
Are there currently cars allowed to be parked on both sides there? On that, by that?
Yeah,
Yes.
There are? Okay, I just
Yeah.
couldn't remember.
yeah.
Right.
It's a big wide road, and driving it, it's usually, by the way, later in the evening when there's parking on both sides, like after 9 o'clock, and you can still meet cars both ways. So,
Please remember, Ward is the extension that goes up all the way when you go further east, goes up behind Goodwill, keeps going up into the new development up behind Target and all that. So someday, there will be traffic because it'll be generated all the way up where Target is now, coming down along that, I would think. I mean,
Well,
You know-
we can go that way now.
that's a projection, but it's coming.
You know what's really interesting about all these, we did motion actuated photography to be able to count which way were people going in cars and bikes and so forth. We saw a number of people, there weren't a lot of people doing this, but a number of people carrying gym bags and carrying canvas bags to get food. They walked to get their food at Fresh and Natural, and they walked to go to Snap Fitness, if I get that right.
Anytime.
Do I have?
Anytime Fitness.
Sorry. Yeah, Anytime Fitness. So anyway, that was, I think, kind of a motivation for some of those extra pages we put in to at least offer the opportunity to do some, and by the way, painted routes for pedestrians and bikes slow cars down, even with nobody on them. So just an idea, but
Well, the only other concern is that intersection right in front of Mike's is the entrance to the interstate also.
yeah.
A lot of traffic going both ways on Coulee now. But of course, you got the cross street there, the north and south on the north side of Mike's, which I hope you're factoring in.
We shot those trips as well. Tiffany, what was the number on, I'm spacing out on that number right now,
For the Coulee Road.
for Coulee Road, it was big. It's an amazing number.
I can't remember off the top of my own head either.
I apologize. We'll have,
I want to say 4,000 to 5,000, but that might be too low.
yeah, I think it was amazing. I think it was 8,000. It was 8,000 something. It's just surprising. So anyway,
Well, the speed is what concerns me in there, because people coming up to that aren't going slow.
yeah.
They come in and they brake to make the hard 90 right or hard 90 left to get onto the interstate, but other than that, they're whipping right along, to try to get there. And, they're coming from the Hanley Street Bridge and all of that, so it's just an area of concern that.
Well, yeah.
When was a traffic study done? When was that done, when you guys were looking at how many cars were going on Ward Street and how many cars?
Which one?
Your
The
traffic
traffic
study?
study for the
That
number
we
of
did-
cars?
That we did?
Well, whoever did it to determine how many cars, okay, so when was that done? What time of
This
year,
summer?
what month?
For 2 weeks.
This summer?
In July.
So school wasn't in session?
It was not.
Okay.
It was not.
So that's gonna double traffic. That's gonna, not double, but it's gonna add traffic there
I-
when school's in session too.
I did put an asterisk that we did not have the ADTs for the buses, because I was aware that was missing. And frankly, we were hoping to see a lot more pedestrian use, kids.
Right.
Because we know that Mike's was a destination for a lot of kids, not just working, but just hanging out there.
There's just a lot of people who walk in that area. There's a lot of walkers in that area. There's a lot of driving during the school year in that area too. And so,
You
just
know,
based on commenting on what you're saying about traffic and concerns there's additional stuff.
This is just a kind of off-the-cuff request, but if you folks could look at those plans that we proposed for pedestrian use and bikes, it's pretty well researched. We went after the complete streets, that capital C, capital S, basically traffic calming design. If you would like to weigh in on that subject, I would. I think it's just a wonderful thing to calm traffic and provide an invitation for people to walk and bike more.
Well, the other thing that's gonna happen, just to add for a little more gas on the fire, is that, that bridge is gonna get widened, and the traffic volumes across the interstate are gonna increase, and some will turn right or north to go up that way, and others will go the other two directions. But
Yeah.
that's coming.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a volume increase due to the bridge update, renew, widening, whatever they end up doing there.
Sure.
And I mean, it'd be wise to factor that in now for what you're doing.
Absolutely, and the staff report speaks to some issues at Starbucks. Our family has frequented that place since it started, and we knew of the problems with people backing out or trying to back out with the wait line for people going in, and the fix is good. But the Starbucks scale of operations is quite different than something with a fraction of that square footage, in our opinion. So, and we can get into that in more detail. I'm taking up more time than I
What's your
should.
experience with the car wash? Do people come in there just to get their car washed, or is it, I mean, I presume most of the people that wash their cars have gotten gas there first and then use the car wash. But what percent do you think, just ballpark, of people just come in to use the car wash?
Good question. A quick answer, I don't know for sure. I recall seeing mention that some percentage, but my recollection is it's a very low percentage. I mean, this is not what you asked, but I can come up with what I did.
No, I'm looking at traffic flow, okay, and
Yeah.
you know, actually, I mean, with the answers you have to every question I've heard so far, I'm surprised you don't have the answer to that one. But that's fine. Here's, my point is that it would seem to me that if, let's say, pick a number, 80%, 90% of the people that use a car wash are coming in there after they've gotten gas, and then are gonna be exiting in a different way than they do if they just get gas.
Correct.
Correct.
Right? So you're gonna limit the number of people coming out on, what street is it?
Coulee.
On Coulee.
14th or Ward?
14th, yep, and then going out to Coulee. So you're actually redirecting traffic flow coming out of the gas station, is my point, it seems to me, for a good chunk of, a good percentage of the people that are your patrons.
This may sound like just anathema to engineers, but one of the things that traditional neighborhood design or traffic calming design calls for is to not channel drivers, you and me and everybody else, into a few routes because it clogs them up. And that design is actually an intention for this, that idea, that criteria is actually an intention here so that the people coming, in fact, the people that come in to get gas, they have a whole bunch of choices as to how to get out and how to turn.
They got two,
I'm sorry?
they got two.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Exit over on the north side and go north out of there too, rather than Coulee
You can
either way.
sneak out here, you can, you know, anyway, the point was that why so many openings? So many openings.
No, I'm not asking that, I'm just making, my observation is that you're providing more egress on the lot than what is currently there.
With the idea of lowering the congestion on the
Got it.
ones that are current. And
Yeah.
that's the principle that is, honestly, this is what city engineering, traffic engineering says to do, and this is just the opposite, to have more places to leave or enter. And because the traffic speeds are so low, I asked this is pretty unique in terms of the idea to cut corners or ability to cut corners. Their manager, that's been there forever, Mike's manager, he says, I do not remember a single fender bender, not a single one. And I've never run into anybody at a gas station. I don't know about you guys, but anyway, so that's, happy to answer more
Sure. Anybody
questions,
else?
observations.
Move to approve?
I second that, and I think that's a great place, and I'm glad to see Alwyn has taken the steps that he's doing to make it into what he's doing, because if you recall, I'll go up there today, there's a bench all the way around the front of that thing where you used to come up there and sit and drink your Coke and all that, and what a cool place of Hudson history and ownership of that place, and I'm glad to see this being done to it, really am.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Anybody else? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Thank you.
I
I have to apologize. I forgot to update everyone's agendas in here. We have an unfinished business item actually from the September 7th Plan Commission meeting regarding the discussion. Well, actually, I'll let Mayor Rich O'Connor introduce it.
Okay, thanks, Tiffany. Discussion and possible action on concept development plans for 307-321 Second Street / 100 Commercial Street, Reuter Walton. I thought, didn't that make it?
It did make it. I added it into the agenda in time yesterday morning. I just forgot to update everyone's packets before dropping them off.
Oh,
down
I
here.
see,
So
I got
my
it. Okay, yeah, because
apologies.
I guess I was looking at the agenda here.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Totally my
Okay,
fault.
everybody got it?
So with that, this item is a continuation from our previous discussion on September 7th. It's for the concept development plan provided by Reuter Walton for a 109-unit residential apartment with commercial space and 143 structured parking stalls. The discussion had previously ended with the Plan Commission requesting further information on the traffic and parking study that was performed with this particular land use and location. Staff did forward the study over to you all following the meeting itself. And so, given the additional information you were all provided and what was presented last time, Plan Commission has a choice to either postpone action on the concept development plans until variance applications have been reviewed, or reviewed by the Board of Appeals, or to approve the concept development plans with the listed conditions in the staff report, which I will show to all of you because you don't have it in your packets. Oops. Share. Okay, there we are. Look at us busybodies. We have such a lengthy agenda, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the recommended actions you'll see. Because this location too is in the Rivertown Management District, we do have some conditions as well that apply to the Rivertown Management Zone as far as Lomer, Clomer type of applications through the DNR are concerned. So those are conditions we do have added. Those are things that we had to do with the 106 Buckeye property, if you might recall. But if any of you have any comments, feel free to speak away.
Tiffany, would it be helpful if I gave a 60-second summary of the traffic study?
Feel free, yes, go
Great,
for it.
Thanks. I know you've got a busy agenda, so I'll be quick. Bob Loken, ESG Architects. I represent the development team, and I just wanted to give a summary of that traffic report. So there were two documents that we supplied to staff, who then supplied them to you. One was the engineering study of both traffic and a parking demand study performed by a traffic engineer using standard national engineering standards. And then the second was the development team's anticipated parking demand per unit. And so I'll just go through those. The application that we made listed 137 stalls that we're providing, parking stalls for 109 units. We actually do have 143 stalls. That application didn't include 6 compact stalls, which the zoning code doesn't acknowledge, so we only listed those. So there's actually 143 stalls that we're providing. The traffic study compared the use and the traffic flows from this project to the previous use, which was the bank with the drive-through. And as we anticipated, because commercial uses tend to have a lot higher traffic volume than residential uses, what that proved out was that the proposed use would have roughly the same peak AM traffic flows as the previous use, but the PM peak traffic flows would be less than half that of the drive-through bank. So the conclusion is that the new use is less demand on parking infrastructure. The second part of that study was parking demand. There were some questions about the assumptions that our engineer was using. We did confirm that the assumption is that they're using numbers based on a suburban area, so not urban, not city center, recognizing that even though this is a small town and it's walkable, it is much closer to a suburban environment that does not have frequent transit, things like that. So that was the basis of study for both the traffic and the parking demand. Using the ITE standards, the parking study validated that the demand for those stalls are provided within this development. And so the developers anticipated parking demand, which we shared. It's fractions of stalls based on units, and that's based on their large portfolio of developments ranging from all over, from urban locations to suburban locations, and weighting it much more toward those suburban properties and what they're seeing the parking demand is. And so the developers anticipated parking demand for the residential uses is 133 stalls of 143 total stalls. The other thing to note is that properties of this size are never 100% occupied. They're typically 95% occupied at best. So that demand would be 126 stalls, which leaves 17 stalls during normal operating conditions that would be available for visitors of the residents or for the commercial users. Any other questions or anything I can clarify?
So your assumption is that it is 17 of them on any given day are not going to be used, but at the same time, you don't have any overflow parking accounted for in the plan? Or is that what you're using the 17 for?
Overflow meaning?
Stay night, overnight stays, et cetera.
Correct, yeah.
Friends, relatives, company.
Correct. Yep.
Kids.
Correct.
So where would they park then if they would park in the empty stalls that are?
Correct.
So who's going to police if there's someone who chooses to use 2 stalls? I mean, how does that work? If someone can park there overnight?
Yeah, I think, well, typically there will be, what we'll do is the folks who rent stalls, the residents who rent stalls, all the stalls are numbered, so they have possession of their numbered stalls. Then there are unassigned stalls that are available for guests or commercial users, and those stalls would be, only 17 stalls is pretty easy to.
But you're saying 17
monitor.
of them are going to be unassigned?
Correct. Yep, correct.
Okay.
Or were you saying the 17 was the percentage of?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
5%
10 are
of-
unassigned, correct. 10 are unassigned.
17 is the
Yeah.
percentage of 5% typically not being occupied.
Correct.
All your studies were hypothetical, as you said, your engineers did based on, but you left out one big part in the city of Hudson's things in the heart of our restaurant district and entertainment district for the city. And that would, I would think, tend to skew some of these numbers somewhat. In other words, there's more traffic down there at times, not all the time. I mean, part of your studies are dead on, I'm sure. But say from Wednesday till Sunday, from 4 o'clock till 7 or 8 o'clock every night, it's a different ballgame. And
I see. You're suggesting there may be more guests coming to,
well, to use,
patronize.
to go to the bars, to go to the restaurants, to go to the FIPS, to go to whatever it may be that's going on, to go to the lakefront park to play volleyball.
sure.
To take your dog for a walk along the lakefront, whatever, because we're gonna be improving that, to make that very amenable and all that, so
Right.
I'm just wondering, have you,
All right, so just one thing I think needs to be pointed
Okay.
out here is that, and help me out here, Tiffany, if I go astray, but you have exceeded the requirement for parking here in the city.
Correct.
So let me ask this, because there are people here, Fred and Pat and Randy, you've been on the plan commission and in the city much longer than me. How many of the restaurants do you think did that?
none?
None. So you're I just want to put this into perspective, and this isn't a condemnation, because we have made, this plan commission and the city council has made accommodations for these restaurants, and the accommodation is, if you don't have the requisite number of parking, if you do not provide the requisite number of parking spots for your facility, for the size of your facility, you just pay us a little bit of money, right? Mm-hmm. And you're good to go. And we've had that with every single restaurant. So the congestion that we've got downtown has been created by the restaurants, essentially. And they did not have the requisite number of spots. And now you're worried about them from an organization that's coming in that exceeds the requirement for parking.
I agree.
Just want a perspective on that.
Let's say it another way, based on that statement, we have no reason to say no. Because they meet the city zoning code at this point in time. We do have a problem, which you just made public and made it recognize that the restaurants are causing it, and we have no mechanism to fix it, because we haven't been able to do anything about it all these years, and we've let it continue to go on. And so then where does that put us? I mean, it puts these guys at a disadvantage, because we're looking at them to solve the problem, which is not correct.
Right. So, and I
agree with where you're going.
This is not a condemnation of the restaurants. I don't want anybody to misconstrue that. Because it's a great problem to have.
Yes.
And you notice, I'm sure across the street, we're trying to mitigate some of the parking issues that we have right now.
Sorry, go ahead, Randy.
It's not a final, it's a concept development, so as we go along, we can certainly help, hopefully help find solutions to different things, but I think it's an asset that would be downtown, and we've heard it from many people that they want to be downtown, and I know you don't object to that, but it's about the parking, and that's a separate issue then, I think. Does this cause parking? Potentially, yes. To the great extent we are, I think we're just kind of ginning up. No. I think it would fit well. On any given weekend, the whole parking down by the boat parking is open. The metered stalls. Doesn't address it overnight.
One other point I'd make is, it's a 109-unit building, maybe there's 130, 140 people living here. All of a sudden, that's 130 or 140 people, potential customers of these restaurants that don't need to drive there. They can walk there. So you're actually increasing the customer base without adding to the...
Circling back, my point was, this is the early concept development.
They will, they'll drive in the winter.
And whether we need to let it pause, or we approve with the conditions laid out, which I'm in favor of, I think we could work with them to make it work.
Do we still have the height variance as an issue?
They have to go before those.
Right, so-
This thing can be all struck down if they don't pass through
Right,
those.
so one of the options is to postpone our decision until they get through all the other issues. Which I don't know why we wouldn't do that and wait to see if they even get through the other committees.
Well, how many times do you want these guys here?
Well, they gotta go through other committees anyways.
I know,
I don't
but
care if
they
they come
don't.
here 15 times, to be honest, like, if that's why we're here, to make sure it's right, or as close to right as we can get it.
But I would say that, we're here right now, we can make the decision to approve this or not. As
Right,
long as
I don't agree with it.
Either way,
I don't agree with the height variance. I didn't agree with it last time, I
That
don't
has
agree with it now.
that has nothing to do with this right now. That's a separate issue where they're deviating from our code. They have to settle those issues separate from here. They're saying is, the size of their building, everything that they've done for parking and all that stuff, does it fit? Yep, we got two issues we gotta figure on the side, but do you approve of everything other than those two issues, which will be decided elsewhere and not by us? That's what they're asking. And I tend to say partner with my guy here, is saying Randy, I'm brain dead, excuse me, that we can't say no because they're meeting code. And because of that, I would support that movement in that direction.
I would just add, though, also from a legal perspective, and Fred, I think you said it well. You have on this project and other projects like it where you require variances, you have different bodies that make different decisions. And so they're here with their concept because they've elected from a process perspective to keep this process moving forward. Well, they also know that they're going to have to go before the Board of Appeals, and they're going to have to get approval on variances there. So it would be appropriate for you to make a decision on this particular application. You certainly could also defer and delay until they work through the Board of Appeals process. But, you know, the issue is somebody has to make a decision first. And, you know, they're entitled to keep their application moving, and you're entitled to make whatever decision you'd like to make based upon the process that we're in.
Right, so, I mean, call me stubborn. Why even have this as an option to postpone action if you think that, I mean, so we can look politically correct, that we have two options here? I mean, basically what you're saying is we have no option, we have to vote yes because they meet code, and that's ridiculous. So, and you know, Fred, I've been on Plan Commission plenty of times too. It's not, just because something meets code doesn't mean it's right. The strip club met code, we're not, the left of center met code, and look how that turned out. I mean,
The parking is not resolved in my mind, but do they meet code? And have they done everything right as we have it today? The answer is yes, they do. We cannot hold them hostage to ghosts in the closet, things that we don't have settled otherwise, which is parking. And we can't hold them hostage to that. That's not right. They, as landowners, they have rights. They get to do what they want with their property as long as it is within the code of the city of Hudson, and I feel they've demonstrated that they've met that. I mean, that's my answer to your issue. We can either go have them approach appeals with our blessing, or saying, oh, we don't know what to do for sure.
Well, I'll move for approval on the concept developments with the following conditions as listed.
And I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Nobody? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
no.
Motion's approved. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So we are back to discussion possible action on master sign plan
Correct, yes.
for Hudson Physicians at 2651 and 2662 Hillcrest Drive.
Just stop share. Okay. So Hudson Physicians has submitted a sign package and master sign plan for 2651 Hillcrest. The master sign plan to be enacted by deed restriction outlines signage requirements for both properties, 2651 and the neighboring 2662 Hillcrest, as it pertains to wall and freestanding signage requirements and allowances. The requirements noted in the master sign plan, they do match and use the same maximums as permitted in our municipal sign code. So staff does recommend approval just because it meets our minimums and maximums as presented.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second that. They got big distances to cover. They need big words and letters for so people know where to go, and I'm okay with them right up to the edge of the wall on that one.
Hey, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on a recommendation to council regarding temporary zoning for land included in the hotel, I'm sorry.
Pretty looks pretty
I
similar.
need larger magnification here. Included in the Holst petition for direct annexation by unanimous approval parcel 020-1087-80-0001 and adjacent public street right of way.
So as is standard procedure for annexations into the city, properties being brought in must be given a temporary zoning designation similar in nature to what the town currently zones it as. With that, in this case, AR agriculture residential is most fitting, being that it's an undeveloped property, all forest land, but it's still a residence by nature as far as zoning is concerned. However, the property, I should note, will be brought forward at a future date for rezoning application to become an RM1. But for now, it's just to be temporary as AR agriculture residential.
I think that plot of land was in our 2040 future plan as an area that we want to bring into the city, so I will move to proceed with that.
I'll second it.
Motion second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on recommending council set a public hearing date for a zoning map amendment from PCD-1, Planned Commercial District, to PRD-1, Planned Residential District on 22.311, what is it? Acres of land legally described as Outlot 2 of CSM 1156949, Volume 32, page 7152, St. Croix County, Wisconsin, St. Croix Meadows, LLC.
So the applicant is requesting to rezone Outlot 2 within the specified CSM from PCD1 to PRD1. The parcel is generally located north of Sharon Lane and south of Archer Ave. The purpose of the rezoning would be to accommodate a future residential development in the area, and at this time, staff is requesting Plan Commission to recommend council set a public hearing date for the potential rezoning.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Set a public hearing date. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is approved. Discussion, possible action requesting that the common council set a public hearing date for an amendment to section 254-3 sub D, filing procedure. That's it.
That's it, yep. So being that the Common Council has requested the city to pursue transition into a third-class city from a fourth-class city, the amendments to both zoning and subdivision code are required. So as you'll see in the packet, the next item kind of correlates in line with this one. The proposed amendment in this section of code would extend the city's review authority from 1.5 miles to 3 miles. And as this would be a change in municipal code, a public hearing date needs to be set. Therefore, once again, we are asking you to recommend council to set a public hearing date.
I move to approve and do that. We've actually been thinking that way in planning in the last update to the master plan.
Okay, I'm sorry, so there's a motion, was there a second?
Yeah.
Okay, motion is second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action requesting that the common council set a public hearing date for an amendment to section 255-69 extraterritorial zoning district.
Once again.
Did I say that right? Extraterritorial, I think I
Yep, you
said
did.
that wrong, okay.
So once again, this one's kind of same thing, moving from a third-class city from a fourth-class city. Just a different chapter within our code that we need to apply this to. So once again, asking the Plan Commission to recommend council set a public hearing date.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion and possible action on amending Chapter 255-16 sub C, sub 1, sub B, and Chapter 255, Attachment 2, Table of Dimensional Requirements.
So in conjunction with goals outlined in the recent comp plan update, along with a notable increase in variances being sought for projects in our downtown district, city staff is recommending some updates to our PCD2 and B3 zoning code requirements and dimensional standards. These updates would allow for our zoning code to mimic the averages of what we are seeing in downtown as far as regards setbacks, average lot sizes, and minimum lot area requirements are concerned. In the staff report, there is an attachment from staff with the proposed ordinance with recommended changes. Changes are kind of shown in red for you all to note. The changes would include an average lot size for PCD2 districts to be 1/4 acre rather than 2 acres. Once again, based off of average lot sizes in downtown. The changes also include a rear yard setback reduction from 25 feet to 15 feet and a reduction in minimum lot area requirements for 1 to 4 bedroom multifamily units. For the recommended action, the Plan Commission may approve, deny, or postpone action on this item. And myself and our city attorney, Nick Vivian, are both here to help answer any questions you all may have.
Where did the numbers come from for the size of the bedrooms? Because, I mean, you think of a 2-bedroom at 800 square feet, which is a room that's 8 by 10. That's not a big room at all.
That's 80.
No, you're wrong on that.
Oh, you're right.
Math is wrong.
My
Your
math.
math is wrong on that.
Oh, you're right, it is. I retract my statement, excuse me.
Back to the third grade.
You're right, I forgot a zero. That's all right.
In terms of the proposed updates, just sort of philosophically, when we look at the changes and think about your code currently, a lot of what you have downtown predates your existing code.
Right.
Or your code was developed for new development downtown as opposed to what we have today, which is a lot of infill development, redevelopment projects. And so particularly with the projects that we've seen come through as of late, we know there are going to be more projects, and thinking about the appropriate standards for development downtown, staff has been reviewing what might be appropriate. And what you have right now, just as we talked about previously, is the fact that for a lot of these projects, given the way that your code is drafted, they are going to require variances, which is okay. But then that takes those applications to the Board of Appeals. And what we've heard from the Board of Appeals as of late, is that they're not really certain what the City Council and what the Plan Commission want to see in the downtown district, because they're required to take a look at deviations, requests for deviations, and they're evaluating it on a deviation basis as opposed to looking at projects and looking at proposals from a standard basis. And so what you have in front of you for consideration is an attempt to start to look at new standards for redevelopment only for the downtown district, which includes PCD, which is that mixed use type of use. So you're looking generally at a mix of commercial and residential. So it's an attempt to better reflect what we have going on in the business district, and with redevelopment coming as opposed to, new development from scratch or dealing with buildings that predate a code that's really not set up for the redevelopment that we have going on in the downtown district here in Hudson.
How do these numbers compare with, let's say, a Stillwater or a similar town to what we have here?
I think they're fairly similar. Tiffany, I don't know necessarily how you develop the numbers.
For which
I'm saying
type? All of them?
The new numbers you
or
have here in red for the
the
based on the number
bedrooms?
of bedrooms.
So I based that off of the acreage average for different lot sizes in downtown, because that's what it's really all about. It's not so much like dictating the size of a bedroom, but rather, or dwelling unit, but rather it's how much land area is required for, like, from an acre or two of a property to develop those units. And the smaller of a property you have, the less potential you have to put more dwelling units there. So in line with the PCD 2 update to drop down to a 1/4 acre, I think is what we have. So it's to make it, I guess, a little more easy, not easy. I'm brain farting.
Well, I think when you look at it, though, the note here indicates that the average lot sizes in the downtown district are a 1/4 acre. So when you look at that, then I think what you're saying is that you've got to kind of work backwards from the average lot sizes
Right.
to determine what's appropriate. You don't want to go too small, but if your standards are too large, like we have today, then you can't get density, which is ultimately what we're seeing from developers. If they're going to redevelop in the downtown district, then they need some density in order to make the developments work. So
In line with that too, our downtown B3 district does allow a 4.0 floor area ratio, which basically means you could develop a property the size of the total area of your parcel 4 stories high. So I mean, in line with that and what our multifamily code requires at this time, as far as minimum lot area requirements are concerned, it's pretty limiting. Not very friendly to, I guess, acquiring the housing goals that we have in mind from the comprehensive
Right.
plan's perspective.
How far north does the B3 go to Orange Street? And this doesn't affect any existing homes, just anything new or renovated?
That was my question, how far north?
I don't know that it goes that far north.
I think we zoned commercial up to Orange Street,
Up
right?
to Norlake, isn't it? Or the old Norlake building, or is it the
Yeah, it's
block
just
beyond
Nor-
on it? Block
Myrtle?
Norlake
beyond
is
it?
the end.
Myrtle?
That's what I thought.
Okay. And then how about going south?
South would be all the way down to like the marina and
And then
waste
east?
facility.
And then east? Because there's houses on River,
East is a little trickier because it's a bit more oddly shaped.
Well, it's where Lolo's is and all that would be the, or the investment
It's where the
place.
photography place is too. That's included in our downtown
Bill
district.
Valley Heating. Is that what you said? That one on the corner there?
So
Well, I'm just
here's-
kind of thinking your house up there and, you know, the other houses.
I'm relying on residential, it's the alley there for me.
You want to turn your screen back on? I have the
But each
zoning
block
map
is
up right
different.
now.
Each block is different
Yeah.
right now.
Because I know in the past, we talked quite a bit about how far we push out our commercial zone.
Well, I thought the general direction was to go north. And it's gonna eventually go
Well,
east too,
It goes,
Okay.
this is 4th Street
Yeah.
right here.
up to Fourth on some, yes.
Yeah.
And we don't want to start spot zoning, so that's why I'm just,
Right. Along with this residential stuff, I mean, it kind of bootlegs back into what we were just talking about. Is parking gonna be part of that too? Well, yeah. Well, come on, I mean, that would take a ton of bricks off people's backs to get that issue handled. Would that be the right word?
There are no proposed changes to the parking requirements with this, this proposal that's before the Plan Commission.
Okay.
I have a question about the 2 acres.
Mhm.
Can you talk about that one?
About why it was initially 2 acres or why it's dropping down to quarter?
Yeah, I mean, is there anyone that has 2 acres that were?
That's the problem. So it doesn't really apply much to any of these properties. There's no, unless you took an entire block.
Right.
That's the only way you could really apply the PCD2 district to anything in downtown.
So when you think about it from a planned perspective, you know, normally a planned unit development, which is generally residential or a planned commercial development, has more space to it. So you think about an urban planning tool where you're mixing commercial uses or you're mixing commercial uses with residential uses, and typically you're planning for larger spaces here. Now what we're seeing downtown is that there's a desire to have perhaps retail on the first level, on the street level, and then residential on the top level. So the fit is not great with a lot of our zoning designations and classifications, which is why the PCD, planned commercial district, seems to be a useful tool for our downtown district. The problem, as noted in the staff report, is that most of the parcels or the average parcel size downtown is a 1/4 acre. So if we want to allow a planned tool that allows for commercial and residential being combined and some flexibility, which is ultimately what planned districts are, they allow you to deviate from the standards without issuing variances, but subject to Plan Commission recommendation and council approval. That's the type of tool that would be very, very useful. And so just looking at how that applies in the downtown district, you wouldn't be able to use it if we had a 2 acre minimum because we don't have 2 acre parcels without significant aggregation downtown. So it really, in order for it to work in the downtown district, you know, pretty much has to be a 1/4 acre. And still, I want to point out that even if an applicant comes in with a request for a PCD, they still have to get the approval, the recommended approval from the Plan Commission and from the council. So it's not as though they can just apply and they're automatically approved. The council still retains the discretion to approve or deny, but it provides the council with a tool that allows for some flexibility so that the parcels down in the downtown district can actually be developed.
So homes that are on First Street, some of those would be in that district, because it would go up to Myrtle, right? So some of those have 1/2 acre lots, So are those properties?
That's too far north.
Nope.
Yeah, it is.
We're going up to Myrtle, right?
Yep, Myrtle is right where it's before Valley Cartage Building.
Yeah, there's homes there.
Yeah, I know that, but that's on the next block, going north.
Put the map
To-
back up.
Can you put the map back up, please?
Yeah, to answer your question though, let me,
I
I do two
think.
things at once. So no, like downtown overlay district only goes up to Norlake, so all these like R2 properties wouldn't be applied. But in line with that, the PCD2 district would only be applied to a business district. So you can't necessarily take an R2 lot and then
I'm
turn it
sorry,
into a
what was
Yeah, I
that?
can't-
PCD2.
yeah.
Can you say that again?
You can't take an R2 lot and turn it into a PCD2. Like, it has to be a business-centric district.
So you would be required to rezone your R2 parcels to B3 before you could then do a PCD on that particular parcel. You cannot do a planned commercial district on residential property or residentially zoned property.
My question, which I wanted to finish asking is, would people on the river, if it were to move more north as being discussed in the future, be able, if they have a half-acre lot, they'd be able to put a twin home or what have you, is what I'm understanding with this ordinance, correct? Would this change? If
If they wanted to continue to do a twin home.
yes,
Twin homes require an R2
right,
zoning district, but this wouldn't change that, no.
okay.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this doesn't propose any changes to the residential district whatsoever.
Okay.
This only applies to the PCD, which is only available in B3.
Got it.
How does this affect any of the plans that are coming up? Any of
Any of
the
the- you mean the
proposed-
development plans?
Any proposed projects that are out there right now?
If it were approved, I guess it would make things a little easier for the Gagnon property here that we just discussed today, but also that old scuba shop on the corner, that was a proposal as well. The development across the street, if we do a parking ramp there, it would provide, I guess, a bit more flexibility as well in that instance. We wanted to turn it into a multi-use structure rather than just parking ramp. But that's all to say, like, those are discussions that would have to take place at the time when those development plans come forward.
But to put a finer point on that, to say it'd be easier, it would eliminate some of the variances that would be required with those applications. They'd still, all of the aspects of the projects would still need to be approved by this body on recommendation and the city council as the final approval. So the approvals don't go away. It's just, it brings it back to, with a PCD, it brings it back to the plan commission and the council as opposed to dividing these projects and sending those variances to the Board of Appeals.
Essentially, it streamlines the process.
I just applied for a building permit in Douglas County, and the property line setback there is 5 feet, so you're still pretty generous here. This,
Anybody else?
what do we need to do on this?
Did we have, no, we don't have a motion yet, do we?
This one is a motion, so if you want to approve, deny, or postpone action on this item as it's presented, or if you have any recommendations or changes that you would like to see, it's all pretty much up to you guys.
Well, just a note, though, in the staff memo, city staff is recommending that the plan commission consider the changes. And so, you, as you've got recommended actions for approval, denial, or postpone, it is a proposal that staff is supportive of, particularly given the current dimensions that we're dealing with downtown and the interest in developing the downtown district.
Can I ask a question? Is there anything we need to address, I mean, as a body, you guys, or are you okay with going ahead with this?
I would like to postpone just to understand more about it, you know, what those, when you quote unquote said it'll make things easier. I feel like I personally need to understand that more. I would
Yeah.
move to postpone.
I will so move
Okay,
to postpone, and as you said, because that wouldn't hurt me either.
okay.
All right, we got a motion second to postpone. Discussion?
Just an FYI, the council last night did approve the company to go through all of our zoning codes and kind of address these issues too,
Well,
right?
then that's appropriate here. Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. I don't have anything. Anybody? You got any else, any other additions to the?
I don't, no.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second.
Got a motion second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.